And in a little bit, we'll start, we'll record on Be Connected. And so anyways, and Gary, how many um, performances do you go on and promote your book a week?
This was a big week. I have three. I had three last week, three this week, 0 next week. I think I've got about 15 in total booked right now. I'm at the Milford Senior Center tomorrow afternoon. And of course, church was on Tuesday. And so, yeah, it's been keeping me busy, that and blogging and marketing. It's been a fun, busy time for me. That's for sure.
Good.
We definitely had some book sales after the church group, because Amazon, you may know or not yet, but sort of ranks you in terms of book sales. And I moved up in a positive way after last night, so that's kind of cool.
Excellent. All right. Let's start. All right. I'm really excited to present my guest, but remember, before, I just want to say good afternoon, good evening, good morning. Who knows where you are in the part of the world, but I'm really I'm blessed that you take time to come on and find what is interesting for the people I bring to you. They have fascinating stories, and I'm going to allow you to learn my new guest, Garry Cole. Hello, Garry. How are you?
Hi, Brent. I'm doing well. Thank you very much for having me on your podcast.
Well, Garry wrote a book called "Are We Old Yet?" And I read the book, and I was really excited about having him on my program to learn a little bit about his story and his conversations he has in his book. So if you could please tell us a little bit about your story, Garry.
Well, Brent, I could take that in a lot of different directions, but I think I'll try to stay focused and mention just three parts of my story and my journey. First, I am married and have two wonderful children who are going through the adulting process as we speak. My son is in medical school in New York, and my daughter's living her best life in Chicago, and I try to live vicariously through them as often as I can, and they're really enjoying their adulting experience. The second thing is I consider my work-life status to be semi-retired. I'm still consulting with a digital marketing company in Troy, Michigan. I'd like to give a shout out to SSDM. They do a great job in the digital branding and lead generation. So again, hello to all my friends in Troy, Michigan, with the marketing company SSDM. Now, let me stay on the semi-retired topic just for a minute. I will say the semi-retired is a wonderful transition from the life that we all knew, working 40 to 60 hours a week, to a life with more freedom and more free time to do the things we love. And I'm really, really enjoying that. So the third thing that I'd like to share with your audience is during this newfound free time, I did, in fact, write a book about aging. And I just stood up to be able to get you, show you a copy. So here's a copy of the book. It's Are We Old Yet? A Casual Conversation About Aging. It is available on Amazon and any other major online bookstore. And I'm excited to be a publisher now. So the book itself has 35 chapters that I call conversations, and the topics range from the biological explanation of aging, how and why we age. And over the last 20 years, very, very smart scientists have come up with the fact that there are 14 reasons, or we call them hallmarks of aging, that causes us to age. Things like telomere shortening, senescent cell growth, and mitochondria dysfunction. And those aren't good things, but they have come up with, those are some of the reasons why we age. They've also done a great job of figuring out ways we could slow down our aging process, in some cases, even reverse aging. Another conversation is called Guys Without Friends, and it's an important discussion about guys and how we do such a poor job in our relationships, yet how important it is to do a better job. And another chapter conversation talks about, and actually a number of them talk about retirement, the transition into retirement, and why it can be difficult and how we can do it better. There's a common element to all of the book, and that's aging, and really an optimistic outlook on getting old.
So I'm going to want to plug a bit of your book, and I had the pleasure of listening to Garry gave a talk 2 nights ago, and afterwards there was some questions, and we broke out in a small group, sort of like 8 or 10 of us. And it was really helpful to have these questions where he focused on one of his conversations there. He mentioned friends or no friends. And Garry, you asked a lot of questions. You challenged us as a group. Maybe we could step up our game a little bit more. And it was very helpful for me, anyways, to hear your story or your conversation, and challenge me to look a little deeper to my friendships. So thank you for doing that.
Thank you, Brent. And you know what? That was such a wonderful evening with a whole bunch of guys. And many people came up to me afterward and said, you have opened my eyes. And I thought I had friends until I thought about it. And we do. And us guys, and there's a whole conversation I'll stay away from right now. But it's really, really important for everybody, and especially us men who don't do it well, to up our friend game, like you just said.
Yes. So, Garry, I often ask my guests, what is the challenge you have found over the last year or two that you have been groping how to deal with this?
The short answer to that is aging. Aging's a challenge, and all of the many challenges that come with it. Now, let me be clear. Aging and getting older is easy. We live a day, we go to bed, we wake up the next day, and we keep doing that over and over and over again until one day we wake up and we ask ourselves, are we old yet? But aging well is really the challenge. To age well requires knowledge, intent, and effort. And that is what I wanted to do, and that is what I want to do. So when I asked myself that question when I turned 63, and there's a story in the book about that, I said, I want to age well. So I did the research to understand how to do it. I want to make the most of this time in my aging journey. And that's what I tell people in the book, to make the most of their time in their aging journey. And I'd like to tell a story that is in the book that sort of helps me in my aging journey. And It's a story about my kids, specifically my son. And I love memories, and memories are one of those things that I love as part of getting older because I get to collect more memories. Well, anyways, here's the story. It's from 19 years ago. The kids were young, and we took them to family camp. Family camp was a 3-hour drive to Escoda, Michigan. And as it turns out, my son got car sick. So he pulled over in the Burger King parking lot, and yes, he emptied the contents of his stomach all over the parking lot. Um, so we proceeded to camp because it was just a 5-minute ride down the road, and we needed a place to stay for the night. So we said, let's just do this. And our cabin was about a 10-minute walk from the car. So I hoisted Parker on my shoulders and walked through the woods, and you could see and feel his mood changing. He saw the woods, he saw the lake, he saw the people, all the families having such a great time. And just before we got to the cabin, he yelled out, "Today is the first best day ever. Today is the first best day ever." And forgiving the grammar of a 6-year-old kid, that's how I like to live my aging journey. I love to wake up and say to myself, today is my first best day ever.
Wow. That was, it was funny. I tell the audience, we read his book, he did that, and it's really, it's appropriate around, well, I heard his best life, and I knew what he was referring to. And hopefully, if you get his book and read him, then the best day, the new best day, it will become a signature for you. All right, and I think Garry, you can tell us one of your successes that either this book has opened up for you, or others like another success like that.
Well, I'm going to stay with the aging theme, and I'll start with saying I'm still alive. It's a success. Every day I wake up and I thank God I'm still alive, but I do feel that I'm doing the best I can to make the most of this time in my aging journey. But I must admit, it's the transition into retirement and aging, for that matter, isn't always easy. And two elements of that I'd like to touch on because I have had some success with that. First is our identity, and then the second one is our purpose in life. And in most cases, when we go through a transition, let's face it, retirement is a huge transition. When we do that, things change. I like to ask myself the question about the word retirement. It doesn't even really do a great job of explaining who I am or what I do now, because it actually is a word that describes what I don't do. What I don't do is wake up every day and work for 40 to 60 hours a week. And that's really kind of what the word retirement does do or explains. But, I mentioned the freedom and time that I now have, and it is a wonderful time in my journey. And it's part of that new identity is it's important for us to accept the many changes in our life and see the opportunity to, in fact, develop that new identity in this new life. And if you don't mind, I'm going to share another story, another memory, this one of my daughter. Last year, I had the privilege of attending my daughter's graduation from Michigan State University, go Green. The commencement speakers delivered messages of encouragement, the future, and reaching new goals and respecting yourself. They talked of hopes in health and happiness as the graduate faces a challenging transition in their life. And it is. Graduating and going through adulting is difficult. A difficult transition in our life. Well, as I sat there and listened intently, I thought, could this message really be for me? I almost felt guilty stealing for myself a message that was clearly intended for the students. Well, later that night, I continued to wonder. And is managing this important transition and leading to my future of health and happiness and reaching new goals, it's that same exact positive approach that I think we should face with our retirement. Let me take it just a step further and suggest that retirement is almost like graduating from one of the best universities in the world I'll name it the University of Life. And as the commencement speakers pronounced, this is really not an end, it's just another new beginning. And I love that. Retirement isn't the end, it's just a new beginning. And one more element to we need to put in place, and I've been working on it, and that is a sense of purpose. There's so many studies, there's so many books written about purpose and how important it is for our health, happiness, and longevity. And I'd like to draw from the wisdom of people in the blue zones to illustrate what I mean and to validate the claim of the importance of purpose. For those who don't know, I'm sorry?
I'm just, I want to make sure you're going to explain what blue zone is.
Yes, and I should do that. Blue zones are 5 areas in the world where people live their longest, and there's more centenarians, people who live to be over 100. Now, it's important to note that these people just don't live to be old. They live a healthy and happy and long lives. Now, there's a social scientist by the name of Dan Buettner who led a National Geographic study in the blue zones that determined that there were common lifestyle factors that sort of influence those long lives. And they called it the power of 9. And one of those, and maybe I would argue one of the most important elements of the power of 9, is in fact to live with purpose. In Okinawa, they call it ikigai, or the reason to rise in the morning. Now, it's important to note that purpose doesn't have to be some grandiose thing. We're not all going to cure cancer, although I hope that someone does. But it's really more of the passion and involvement with that purpose that has an impact on our life. The people in the blue zones, they live with a purpose that involves gardening, family, and friends in such a wonderful way to live to be 100. By the way, the blue zones, in case you want to know and move there, is in Icaria, Greece, Loma Linda, USA, Nicoya Peninsula, Costa Rica, Okinawa, Japan, and Sardinia, Italy. I want to summarize my long answer for your short question. I feel that I'm being successful in making the transition to this phase in my life, this retirement phase, a wonderful phase that if we're willing to accept the changes that come with it. So for me, yes, I am changing, transitioning, accepting all those things, and it will continue to change, as I'm sure. My curiosity has been a part of my life, all my life, and it still remains. That leads me to continue to learn more about aging journey and how to make a positive and meaningful influence. I still feel a strong sense of purpose to love and take care of my family, although the taking care of part has really changed dramatically, and I'm sure my future role will continue to metamorphosize. But for now, I've added the purpose of learning to age well and live the best I can and share it with others. So I wrote a book. I'm enjoying many speaking engagements like the one you spoke of in tonight, and having coffee with my friends, and often the topic leads to aging. So in closing, I do have to be careful as I share my new identity and personal information. My wife reminds me and sort of level sets me with her advice. And she says, not everyone is into this aging thing as much as you are. Her exact words were, at times you sound like a tool. Well, and I would like to say that I understand, and she may be right. So maybe I need to leave off the part about my senescent cells and mitochondria. So with that, Brent, I want to thank you, and I appreciate you having me on your show, because this is really part of me fulfilling my purpose.
Great.
It's really,
it's a wonderful, because the transition you talked about was being going to retirement, and and many people that are on this show know that I had 2 strokes, and that required I didn't have any choice. They required me eventually to retire early. When I was 51 was when I decided I needed to retire, because I wasn't progressing in my stroke recovery. And so I was basically doing what you talk of and here, at some point, we're going to all decide either we're going to decide voluntarily or involuntarily. We'll have to make this transition to a different role. And it
Exactly.
does require that we make a change in our identity if we want to really, I call it thrive. And we have to embrace the new role we have.
Absolutely. And Brent, I certainly give you a lot of credit that you, in fact, as in your words, were forced to make the transition and find a new identity and find a new purpose. And I know you well enough to know that you are absolutely making the best of this time in your aging journey. And I so applaud you in doing that.
Well, why I wanted you to come on my program was people need to hear what you say, because we're all going to age. The only time we're not going to age is when we die, and then we're going to decompose. So
That's
we either are living and growing and aging, or we're dying.
That is the fact of the matter. And as far as I'm concerned, and I know you share this feeling, I think let's make the best of it and let's age the best we can.
Yes. So please, if you, my audience, if you can notice, if you're in Be Connected, we have two places you should want to click on. The first is to get a copy of his book, and I recommend that, because it really opened my eyes, and all of us should have our eyes opened about the issues as we age. And the second is you can click on that and go learn more about him, and that's his website.
Right.
So, yes.
If I may say, for those who are not Be Connected, my website is GarryCole.com, and I do spell my name with 2 R's, so that's GarryCole.com.
Good you do that. This book, like I said, is available at Amazon or Barnes & Noble, or whenever you want to buy it. So thank you, Garry, for coming and telling us your stories. And I love that you are doing this. So
thank you, Brent. It was great to see you tonight.
All right, everybody, remember, to your success.